The call came from a boy, his voice shaky as he asked if we could euthanize his late grandmother's cat. I bit back my frustration. Dumping pets like this always hits a nerve, and told him to bring the cat in. When he arrived, the scrawny feline was curled up in his arms, meowing softly. As I reached out to check its collar, my annoyance turned to shock. The inscription made my stomach drop, and I whispered, "Oh my God!" I stared at the boy standing in front of me, his cheeks flushed and his eyes darting around the room. "Why do you want to do this?" I asked. "It was Grandma's wish," the boy muttered, avoiding my gaze. I sighed, trying to make sense of his answer. "But why not find it a new home?" I suggested gently. The boy just shook his head, his grip on the cat tightening. The cat purred as the boy adjusted his hold, looking more certain by the minute. "She didn't have much," he explained. "Just this old cat and a lot of memories." The way he said memories made me wonder. "There has to be a better way," I insisted, feeling a mix of empathy and frustration. He only looked down, shuffling his feet silently, his resolve as firm as ever. I leaned back in my chair, glancing at the cat nestled in the boy's arms. "Listen, kid," I said softly. "I know things are tough, but putting a healthy cat down isn't right." The boy nodded slowly, as if weighing my words. His silence spoke volumes, and reluctantly, I added, "Let's at least check out your options first. Maybe there's someone who'd want to take care of it." He seemed to consider this. Just as the conversation hit a lull, the bell above the door jingled. A woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile walked in, instantly drawn to the cat. "Oh, what a lovely feline," she cooed, crouching down to pet it. The boy glanced at her, unsure. "I could help find a new home for it," she offered warmly. This was the kind of miracle we needed, and I felt hope stir. The boy hesitated, his eyes flicking between the woman and me. "Really?" he asked, disbelief lacing his voice. "Absolutely," she replied, her sincerity evident. "I run a small shelter, and there's always room for another friend." The boy's mouth twitched in what could almost be a smile. "It'd be better than, she added softly. "Yeah, maybe," he mumbled, loosening his grip just a bit. The woman reached out, stroking the cat's back gently. "Why not let it stay with me for a while? Until you decide," she proposed. The boy seemed taken aback but intrigued. "You'd do that?" he asked in disbelief. "Of course," she assured him, kindness radiating from her eyes. He seemed to weigh his options before finally nodding. "Okay, for now." The relief in his voice was undeniable. Feeling the atmosphere lighten, I shared, "You can always change your mind. No rush." The woman chimed in, "Yes, and if you visit, you might see other wonderful animals too." The boy nodded again, his shoulders relaxing. "Thanks," he said quietly. "It's just hard, The sincerity in his voice pulled at my heartstrings, and the woman offered a reassuring smile, promising to keep the cat safe and loved. The boy handed the cat over reluctantly. "This is only temporary," he stressed, clearly struggling with the decision. "Of course," she replied softly, cradling the cat tenderly. He glanced at me, seeking assurance. "You made the right choice," I encouraged. Meeting the woman's gaze, I saw the genuine care in her eyes. As he walked out the door, I felt a sense of satisfaction, knowing we had done right by the boy and the cat. As the boy left, I turned to the woman, marveling at how the day unfolded. "Thanks for stepping in like that," I said gratefully. "It was my pleasure," she replied, smiling warmly. "I'll make sure this little one finds happiness." Watching the cat purr in her arms, I couldn't help but feel optimistic. Today, we didn't just save a life. We succeeded in bringing a little bit of hope to those who needed it. Later that day, as I settled back into my routine, I received a surprising phone call. It was the boy, sounding unsure but determined. "Hi, it's me again," he mumbled. "I was thinking, maybe I'll visit the shelter." His words surprised me, considering his earlier hesitation. "That's great," I replied, excitement in my voice. "I'm sure the cat would love to see you." This call felt like the start of something positive. The boy hesitated, then cleared his throat. "So, when can I come by?" he asked. I smiled, happy to hear the eagerness in his voice. "Whenever you're ready," I assured him. "They're open every day." I could almost hear him nodding on the other side of the line. "Okay, I'll go soon," he breathed, sounding more confident. I hung up the phone, hopeful for this new development. The next day, I couldn't wait to share the news with the kind woman who had taken the cat in. "Guess what?" I started, catching her attention immediately. "The boy wants to visit the shelter." Her eyes widened, a smile stretching across her face. "Really? That's fantastic," she exclaimed. "I just knew he'd come around." We both felt a sense of accomplishment, knowing this was a step in the right direction. The days passed and my anticipation grew. I found myself wondering how the boy's visit would go. Each time the phone rang, I hoped it was another update. "Do you think he'll come today?" I asked the woman during one of our check-ins. "I hope so," she replied warmly. The cat would be thrilled to see him again. We could only wait and hope for his arrival. Finally, the phone buzzed with a message. "Can I come by later?" Read the text, sent from the boy. "Of course." I typed back quickly, adding a smiley face. This was a big step for him, and I wanted to encourage him as much as I could. I notified the woman, and she promised to be ready, assuring me that the cat was doing well and adjusting nicely. On the day of the boy's visit, I could barely focus on anything else. The anticipation was palpable, so I decided to head over and witness this reunion myself. As I arrived, the woman greeted me warmly. "It's going to be a good day," she said with confidence. We both hoped the boy would find some sense of peace, seeing that his grandmother's cat was in loving hands. As the time approached, the boy arrived at the shelter. He stood at the entrance, looking a little unsure. "Hi," he greeted us, a bit of nervousness in his tone. "Welcome," the woman said, waving him inside. "The cat's been waiting for you." He nodded, taking a deep breath. As he stepped through the door, I couldn't help but smile, knowing this was a moment he needed. Inside, the cat was nestled in a cozy spot. At the sound of the boy's voice, it perked up immediately. "Hey there, buddy," he murmured, crouching down. The cat meowed happily, rubbing against his hand. "Oh, it missed you," the woman chuckled. The boy laughed, a real laugh, free of worry. It was a beautiful sight, seeing the bond between them reignite. My heart swelled with happiness. As they reunited, the boy started asking questions. "How's it been doing here?" he inquired, genuinely interested. "Great, actually," the woman reassured him with a smile. "It's made some friends." The boy nodded, relieved. "Grandma used to love bringing it treats," he shared. It was clear he was thinking about his grandmother fondly. Listening to him talk, I realized how important this visit was for him too. "You can visit any time," the woman offered, seeing how much it meant to him. "Really? Thank you," he replied, his voice filled with gratitude. It was one of those moments where everything felt right. "Maybe I'll bring some treats next time," he promised, a light in his eyes that wasn't there before. The cat purred contentedly, and I knew we were witnessing the start of a brighter future for both of them. After the visit, the boy couldn't stop talking about the cat. "Did you see how happy it was?" he asked me, his face lighting up. I nodded, enjoying his enthusiasm. "Yeah, it seems really comfortable there," I replied. His eyes sparkled with excitement. "I can't wait to visit again." It was heartwarming to see him so energized, and I was glad he had something to look forward to. Each time the boy visited, a stronger bond grew between him and the cat. "Look, it remembers me," he said, grinning as the cat happily nuzzled against him. The woman smiled, watching them. "You two make quite a pair," she remarked. The connection was undeniable, and it brought a warmth to the room that was hard to miss. Everything seemed to fall into place during these visits. Visiting the shelter became a new routine for the boy. "It's like our own little hangout spot now," he joked while petting the cat. The woman nodded. "You're always welcome here." The boy chuckled. I think the cat looks forward to these visits as much as I do. It might have started as something challenging, but now it was a part of their lives that they both cherished. During each visit, the boy got to know some of the other animals. They're all so unique, he said, watching the dogs play outside. True, the woman agreed, and they all have their stories. The boy was intrigued. I think I want to learn more about them. This was more than he had expected when he first came in, and it was exciting to see him open up. The boy started to share more about his grandma. She loved animals so much, he mentioned one day. The woman nodded, encouraging him to continue. We used to have all sorts of pets, rabbits, birds, you name it, he recalled, smiling at the memory. It was nice to see him reminisce about his past, and it helped him understand more what his role with the cat could truly be. Slowly, the boy began to see how much the cat connected him to his grandma. It's like a part of her is still here, he said one afternoon. I think she'd be happy seeing you like this, the woman replied softly. He nodded, sensing the truth in her words. There was a sense of peace that came with this realization, and it brought them closer together. The boy mentioned how he had been afraid of what came after losing his grandma. I thought I'd never smile again, he confessed. But look at you now. I chimed in, seeing the change in him. He nodded. Yeah, I guess I just needed something to hold on to. It was clear that facing this opened up a new chapter of healing and acceptance for him. After another successful visit, the boy mentioned an idea. What if I help out here more? He asked, his voice full of purpose. The woman beamed. We'd love that. More hands are always welcome. He grinned, clearly eager for the chance. This was more than just visits now. It was about forming ties and creating new opportunities. It felt like a path lined with so much potential. With every passing day, the boy found a sense of belonging in the shelter. I think I'm starting to fit in here, he admitted one evening. The woman nodded proudly. You've always had a place here. That warmth he felt was like the beginning of something long-standing and genuine. This was becoming part of his life, more than he could have imagined when he first walked in. As the sun set, the boy reflected on what this journey had taught him. I guess things do get better, he mused. They sure do, the woman agreed, patting his shoulder. He glanced at the cat, now peacefully dozing, and I'm glad I didn't give up. This was a turning point for him. A meaningful choice that changed everything. It was just the beginning of a hopeful new chapter. As time passed, the boy became more confident. I like helping out, he said, as he refilled the dog's water bowls. You're doing a great job, the woman praised him, watching his cheerful demeanor. He grinned, feeling good about his contribution. Those moments of working at the shelter made him feel useful, and his commitment only grew stronger each day he spent there. While organizing the shelter's old newspapers, he found an article about a pet event his grandma had taken him to. I remember this, he exclaimed. She was so happy that day. The woman looked over his shoulder. That's a great memory to cherish. He nodded, realizing how much this connection to his past meant. Revisiting these memories became a source of strength for him. One afternoon, a volunteer around his age joined him at the shelter. Hi, I'm Sarah, she introduced herself. Mind if I help out? He shrugged but smiled. Sure, why not? They worked side by side, joking and sharing stories. It was unexpected, but they quickly became friends. His world, once narrow and filled with loss, was expanding in positive ways he hadn't foreseen. I've never walked a dog before, the boy admitted, a leash in hand. It's easy. Just be firm but gentle, Sarah instructed. They headed out, 2 dogs eagerly pulling them along. Look, they're loving it. Sarah laughed as the dogs trotted happily. He laughed too, enjoying the simplicity of the task. This hands-on experience was something he had never considered he would enjoy. So, why do you come here? He asked while they returned to the shelter. I love animals, she replied, shrugging. And it's kind of like my escape. He nodded, understanding that sentiment. Yeah, I get that. It turned out they had more in common than he initially thought. The shelter was becoming a haven not just for the animals, but for them too. "Have you ever painted before?" Sarah questioned while they cleaned the outdoor benches. "Nope, but I'm willing to try," the boy chuckled. Later, they set up paints and canvases for a fun project. "This is actually really cool," he admitted, brushing colour across the canvas. Sarah grinned. "Told you." Trying new things sparked a new sense of curiosity in him he hadn't known existed. With the days turning into weeks, the boy found himself trying more activities at the shelter. "Want to help with the photo shoots today?" the woman asked. He grabbed a camera, unsure but excited. Capturing the animals' playful antics on film was unexpectedly enjoyable. "These are amazing shots," Sarah praised, glancing at the camera's screen. He beamed, starting to realize his own abilities. "You're a natural," the woman complimented, as the boy helped with the adoption event. He felt a swell of pride in her words. All the things he had learned in this place were building him up, little by little. Each task taught him something new, pushing him outside of his comfort zone. This was becoming more than just volunteer work. It was shaping his future. Meeting different people at the shelter opened his eyes to many stories. "Have you met Leo?" Sarah pointed to an older volunteer. "He's been here forever." The boy approached Leo and was quickly pulled into tales of past rescues and adventures. Finding these connections enriched his life in ways he hadn't imagined before. Everyone at the shelter had something unique to offer. "I love seeing the animals find homes," the boy confessed. It was during an adoption day when the shelter was bustling with potential pet parents. "Yeah, it makes all the effort worth it," Sarah agreed, both of them watching a puppy leave with a new family. Helping spread joy to others felt incredible. It was fulfilling, and he realized more and more that he truly belonged at the shelter. As the shelter grew on him, the boy noticed how much it changed his perspective. "I never thought I'd enjoy this so much," he admitted to Sarah. She nodded, agreeing. Helping others can be pretty cool. They watched as a new dog settled in. "Maybe I'll try learning even more things," he mused. With each day, he was eager to explore new opportunities. One day, the woman approached with a new challenge. "How about organizing the next event?" she asked the boy. He hesitated, then agreed. "I'll give it a shot." Working with the team felt daunting, but everyone pitched in. "You've got this," Sarah encouraged. Nervous but motivated, he threw himself into planning. This was a different experience, yet it helped him grow more confident. The boy saw firsthand how teamwork made a difference. "We make a great team," Sarah said as they set up tables for the event. "For sure," he agreed, feeling a sense of belonging. As volunteers bustled around, they coordinated the preparations smoothly. The event was pulling together wonderfully, thanks to their effort. For the first time, he truly appreciated how everyone's role mattered. On the day of the big event, the shelter buzzed with excitement. "Look how many people showed up," the boy marveled. The woman beamed, proud of their hard work. Families browsed the adoption areas, and animals found loving homes. Watching the success unfold, he felt proud of what they'd accomplished together. "We really did it," he said to Sarah, grinning from ear to ear. After the event, he took a moment to reflect. "I've learned a lot here," he admitted, feeling grateful. "And you've helped a lot," Sarah pointed out. Seeing the positive impact of their actions filled him with a sense of achievement. The journey he'd been on had changed him for the better. It was exciting to think about what other possibilities the future might hold. "The shelter feels like a family now," he said one day. The woman nodded, her eyes warm. "That's how it should be." Surrounded by friends who shared his passion, he realized how lucky he was. The bond he'd formed with both people and pets made the shelter a special place. It wasn't just a place to volunteer, it was a second home. One afternoon, the boy got some unexpected news. "Guess what?" Sarah said excitedly. "The cat you love might get adopted." He felt a mix of happiness and sadness. "That's amazing," he replied, trying to sound excited. It was bittersweet, knowing he might not see it much. But understanding that it would go to a good home was comforting, and he accepted it. As the day for the cat's adoption grew closer, the boy prepared to say goodbye. "Make sure it goes to a great family," he instructed, concerned for its future. "Of course," Sarah assured him. Spending those last moments with the cat was important to him, as they had shared a journey together. He felt grateful for the joy it had brought him. The day finally arrived and the shelter was bustling with excitement. "It's going to a nice couple," the woman told him softly. As they loaded the cat into its carrier, he knelt down. "Take care, buddy," he whispered. He watched with mixed emotions as it left with its new family, knowing it was for the best. He shed a tear but smiled, proud of his decision. After the farewell, the boy thought about the journey ahead. "What's next for you?" Sarah asked, noting the thoughtful expression on his face. He shrugged, smiling. "I'll keep coming here, that's for sure." Knowing he'd made a difference encouraged him. "And new animals need you," she added. He nodded, feeling ready for whatever adventures and challenges the future held. As the boy settled back into his routine at the shelter, he met a new puppy. "Hey there, little guy," he said, reaching out to pat its head. The puppy wagged its tail, bounding around with boundless energy. "Looks like you made a new friend," Sarah commented, joining him. It was exciting to see him so quickly bond again. This marked the start of new experiences and connections. "Do you want to help with training this pup?" the woman asked the boy, pointing at the energetic newcomer. "Sure thing," he replied with enthusiasm. Under the woman's guidance, he learned simple commands and tricks. "Good job, buddy," he cheered as the puppy sat on command. These small victories brought a sense of accomplishment, and the boy loved the responsibility and joy of teaching. Despite the fun, training a puppy wasn't always easy. "He just doesn't listen." The boy huffed after the pup ran off with his shoe. Sarah laughed. "Patience is key," she encouraged. "It's all part of the learning process." With her support, he was reminded that training came with ups and downs, but seeing progress made it worth the effort and time invested. Realizing patience was vital, he took it step by step. "Let's try this again," he said to the puppy, holding a treat. This time, the pup focused and managed to follow commands better. "See, it's improving," Sarah observed, offering praise. The boy felt proud of their progress, knowing each small success built a stronger connection between them. He learned that patience really was a virtue. With growing confidence, the boy took on more responsibilities. "Can I feed the new arrivals?" he asked eagerly. "Absolutely. Go ahead," the woman replied, trusting him completely. He carefully followed instructions and cared for them with attention and love. Each task brought newfound skills and self-assurance, and the shelter became more of a second home, filled with meaningful activity and purpose. "Working together makes it fun," he told Sarah as they co-handled the puppy's training session. She nodded. "It's great having someone to share the load with." Together, they managed to teach the puppy a new trick. "We did it," he exclaimed, thrilled at their success. It wasn't just personal growth, it was about the friendships and teamwork that made each day brighter. One afternoon, a family arrived at the shelter. "Can we see some puppies?" the little girl asked excitedly. The boy and Sarah led them to the play area. "This one has a lot of personality," the boy grinned, pointing at their energetic trainee. Watching the family's joyful interactions with the animals was heartening and reminded him how important their efforts were in finding homes. "They seem to love the puppy," Sarah observed after the family left. "Yeah, it's nice to see the connection," the boy agreed. His work at the shelter allowed him to witness these special moments firsthand. It was rewarding to know that they played a part in creating bonds between families and animals, even if he had to say goodbye to some furry friends eventually. The next day, the woman approached the boy with an update. "That family decided to adopt the puppy," she informed him. A mix of joy and sadness filled him. He's going to a good home, Sarah reassured. He nodded, accepting the bittersweet part of the process. It was an opportunity for the puppy to be cherished and loved, the best outcome they could hope for. As the puppy left with its new family, the boy felt a sense of fulfillment. "We really made a difference, didn't we?" he said to Sarah. She nodded, smiling proudly. "And there's always more work to be done," she reminded him. With a renewed sense of purpose, he felt excited for future possibilities. The shelter had become a part of his life, influencing him positively. After the puppy left with its new family, the boy and Sarah stood quietly for a moment. "It's always tough seeing them go," the boy remarked, a hint of sadness in his voice. "But it's worth it," Sarah replied, nudging him encouragingly. "We're giving them a chance at a happy life." He nodded, finding comfort in her words. He realized that every adoption was a step forward. The next day, the shelter was busier than ever. "We have a lot to do today," the woman commented, handing the boy a list. "I'm ready," he replied, rolling up his sleeves. As he tackled various tasks, from feeding to cleaning, he felt a sense of accomplishment. "We make a good team," Sarah said. They high-fived, knowing that every effort contributed to the smooth running of the shelter. Working side by side with Sarah and the rest of the team, the boy felt a strong sense of camaraderie. "I never realized how much teamwork mattered," he admitted, as they organized a supply closet. "It's what keeps this place going," Sarah responded. Through their shared efforts, he understood that their common goal was to provide the best care for the animals and find them loving homes. One afternoon, the woman approached the boy with an exciting offer. "Would you be interested in helping with some outreach events?" she asked. "Definitely," he replied, eager to try something new. With encouragement from the team, he began planning ways to represent the shelter in the community. The idea of reaching more people and spreading their message was thrilling to him and filled him with determination. At their first outreach event, the boy met people who shared his love for animals. "It's great to see you here," a visitor commented, recognizing him from the shelter. "Thanks for coming out," he replied, energized by the community's interest. Talking with the visitors and answering questions about their mission made him proud of what they were achieving. The event was a success, cementing his commitment. After the event, the boy reflected on the day. "I really feel like I belong here now," he confessed to Sarah. "And we're glad you're part of our team," she replied with a smile. It was a comforting realization, knowing that he had found a place where he was valued and could make a positive impact. The shelter had become more than just a volunteer spot. It was home. "I've met so many amazing people here," the boy said one day while chatting with the woman. "It's funny how animals bring us all together." She nodded, agreeing. It's a special bond. The interactions and friendships he had formed in this journey were lifelong connections. Supporting and learning from each other made the work even more meaningful and fulfilled his desire for community. One warm afternoon, the boy spotted a familiar face entering the shelter. "It's you," he exclaimed when he saw the family who adopted the puppy. "We thought you'd like to see how he's doing," the father said, smiling. Seeing the puppy again, wagging its tail and full of joy, brought a wave of happiness. It reaffirmed that his efforts really did make a difference. With excitement bubbling inside, the boy gathered everyone to share the puppy's success story. "He's doing great with them," he announced, showing pictures the family had brought. "This is why we do what we do," the woman said, her eyes filled with pride. Celebrating these happy stories lifted everyone's spirits and strengthened their resolve to help more animals find loving homes. The next day, the boy looked forward to more adventures at the shelter. "I wonder what's next," he mused, glancing around at the bustling environment. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together," Sarah reassured him. With a heart full of hope and excitement, he embraced the future. The journey had just begun, and he was ready to make even more positive changes and memories.